Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk, and I know that High Trust is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach free.
That's solid, but what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now, with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the iTrust framework. Go to hightrustalliance.net to learn more.
Are you going to edit it later on?
No.
Okay. Oh damn, this is too much pressure.
All the pressure
Oh
around.
my god.
All the pressure is on you.
I'm not so good doing stuff without being well prepared.
But you know this stuff.
But I know the talk, yeah.
You know this
So
stuff,
don't
so-
ask me anything outside the talk, right?
All right. Do you know your name?
I know my name, yes. It's Aram Hovsepyan.
There you go.
But my last name is too complicated to pronounce typically, so just Aram is fine.
Aram is good though. So you know that. That's not your talk.
That's not my
So,
talk now.
There we go. We're having a little fun here. We're at OWASP Global AppSec 25 here in Barcelona. It's good to see you, Aram.
Good to see you, Sean.
Yes. And
to
congratulations getting a talk here as well.
Thanks.
And a topic that I love. People probably think I'm nerdy, but metrics is cool because if you don't know what you're trying to achieve and how
Exactly.
close you are to getting there,
Exactly.
what's the point? Right?
If you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or it's harder to communicate around it too. Right?
Absolutely.
As a
Yeah.
team. So maybe a few words about some of the things you do day to day and with OWASP, and then we'll get into the.
Yeah, okay. So basically, I have several hats. I've been a researcher, which I don't do much anymore. Although the keynote today, I asked her a question.
Vuln research.
Sorry?
Or vulnerability research. Or
No, I used to be a researcher, a PhD researcher at the
okay.
University of Leuven, and then I did a postdoc research. So,
Okay.
and then I closed that as a career.
Okay.
Then I moved on. Now I'm a CEO of a product company called Codific, which is a product firm. SAMM is one of our
Okay.
greatest products.
Okay.
And I also have the third hat of being a vigilante at night by being OWASP SAMM core team member. And I'm saying at night because we have people in Australia, like part of the team is in Australia, part of the team is in the US. So our meetings are typically very late at night. And I'm a super morning person, so I don't like the nights. I'm very unproductive.
It's a very unnatural moment, that timing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is you have that global perspective, which is important, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about the talk. What was the premise behind submitting in the first place?
Now, to put it very briefly, you heard the mantra, like I mentioned, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Right.
I have the impression that the industry is trying to focus on the measurements to prove that they are managing it and they have something to improve. But then the thing is, when I start looking at it deeper from my researcher hat perspective, I realize that they are pulling in metrics which are readily available in many of the tools, which are great. I'm not saying that these metrics are bad. And they sort of figure out goals to fit those metrics. Instead of going the other way around, where research from 30 years ago says you have to start with the goals because they are very specific to your organization.
Right.
Then you have to formulate questions to measure progress towards those goals because you cannot just jump to metrics. And it's a sort of 3-layered structure, and only at the end you bring in the metrics to measure, to answer those questions that you formulated to support your goals.
So what? You probably covered some of this in the talk, but what are some of the things that teams might look at in terms of metrics? Like you said, it's probably not bad, right? It's not bad to have information and you hopefully use it to make informed decisions, but are there some missteps or mismatches in terms of what they're looking at? Like in the SIM and the SOC world, there's MTDD, MTTR, right? How do you detect and respond?
Yeah.
Which are good, but they don't, to your point, they don't answer the question of did you actually close down and recover?
Yeah. I think I was mainly focused on vulnerability management programs. Right. I think the field of SOC, the field of operations is pretty mature, and I haven't really looked at those metrics under the microscope.
I only use that as an example.
Yeah, but the metrics of things we are doing at vulnerability management, we're looking at number of vulnerabilities without realizing like, well, most of these vulnerabilities are not that serious, are not exploitable. They might not even lead to a breach. And then we cycle those vulnerabilities as these nice dashboards, which large organizations are actually using to report to the board. So my point is that this process has scientific flaws, which doesn't necessarily mean that we should just abandon it.
Right.
And one of the biggest points that I try to make is there are things that are heuristics, which are approximations, and we know they are scientifically not 100% there. These heuristics could be very helpful. However, we never really stop to think about them, and we blindly report these metrics to the board, and then we try to minimize the number of vulnerabilities, minimize the risk that the things give us, that the tools provide us, without really going back to the question, what are we trying, what is really our goal? And our goal is to reduce the risk of getting breached.
Right.
And if we look at the metrics and the vulnerability management metrics and dashboards that we have from that lens, I have the impression that we are not really doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah, we're missing that connection.
We are missing that connection. I'm not also saying that that connection is a huge bridge to gap, but I am saying that the industry should perhaps try to give that input to the tool vendors who actually give us the metrics, and tell them, hey, maybe maybe you should further work on these metrics and bring them in the tool, rather than, hey, we're happy with this and we're just going to blindly report what you guys give us.
Yeah. So talk to me about this, because so many things in my head here, but I'll go with this first one. So the vulnerability counts go up, right? Why? Well, probably because you're building more software, right? You're expanding the business, you're bringing new workflows and business processes online.
Yeah.
Of course, that number is going to grow. So, are there ways for organizations to kind of understand that? Like, we're transforming the business, we're developing more stuff, therefore that number is going to go up, or are they expecting it to stay flat and go down? What's your view on kind of that?
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's a good metric, but
there is one key element there actually, and that is called the false positive element,
right,
and the way the tools work. So one of the heuristics mostly used in the tools is to make sure they don't miss anything. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to have false negatives and tell you everything is great and there are no vulnerabilities.
Right.
Which means they are going to start creating a lot of false positives, which is happening pretty much right now. And that is one of the reasons that we have so many vulnerabilities. Right. Some of them are false positives. I've heard stories like 80% of them
really?
being false positives. Of course, it depends on the tool. Yeah. But again, if we also think about it through the lens of the goals, all these huge numbers that are growing, out of thousands of vulnerabilities, it could be that only a couple of them are really, really something you should focus on today and fix them. And I honestly don't know how to solve that issue, how to solve that gap, especially in the context of we already have software systems online, and we bring in a tool, and the tool shines the light everywhere and brings up a lot of issues, rather than if we would start with it today and have the tool from day one, we would not have all that technical depth, I would call it, maybe security tech depth or vulnerability depth that we need to go and process and triage. Because at the end of the day, all these huge numbers, I've only seen them pop up in organizations that have been there, have systems online, and they brought in the tool to just look around and say, oh my God, what is going on here?
Right. So I'm wondering, and maybe we have a deeper conversation on this with somebody who also looks at the bigger picture of risk management, because in my mind, I'm thinking, to your point, if we know what the objectives are, and we can ask the right questions of what good, or define what good looks like, and what the questions are to say, how do we get there, and what's it look like when we do get there? If we do that from a risk management perspective and from a business impact analysis or whatever, we might be able to start to connect the vuln data to the attack path data, to the threat intelligence data, to the IOC data, right? And then start to really have a better picture and have a better thing to measure. That's my thought. But the other thing I ask on my podcast, Redefining Cybersecurity, is this idea that we have all this information as security people, be it vuln data, be it threat intel data, be it attack data, whatever it is. And my sense is that we're not using it strategically enough to drive business definition. And what I mean by that, and this is the example I use a lot, which is vulnerability data. If we're spending hours and hours and hours every week, multiple people on the team patching stuff and putting in mitigating controls, that's time that could be put into maybe we select a different technology, or redefine the stack, or look at the business workflow differently, so we don't have those exposures, we don't introduce those vulnerabilities in the first place.
Yep.
So I don't know, your thoughts on that, and mostly connected metrics.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think vulnerability management is just part of your full spectrum of application security, of the whole, let's call it the Google Maps of application security. I would say it's like 1 out of 30 things to do. And now I'm referring to a OWASP SAMM model, which tells you, okay, this is everything that you need to do. And vulnerability management, yes, it's one of those things. And I strongly believe that there are other elements in that story, other activities and security practices in SAMM that deserve more attention. And these practices are, like you mentioned, strategy, risk management, figuring out what is my risk and what is the impact of those things. Right. What is the impact of bad things happening? Perhaps I have tens of thousands of vulnerabilities, but that system is not internet facing. It's used inside a storage facility, let's say, without crazy risk, even if something bad happens there. Right. Of course, it's not a good thing for anything bad happening there, but imagine a company who has that system and another system which is internet facing and there is patient data in it. Obviously, you are going to approach these two systems with a completely different eye and different lens.
Right.
And then a central practice, which is related to the whole understanding of risk, is the threat modeling practice. Yeah. And it's been a topic that comes up everywhere, on especially these AppSec conferences, threat modeling.
There were 2 trainings here this week.
Yeah.
One in general with Adam, and then,
exactly.
and then the AI threat modeling.
And there are many talks, and there is the Threat ModCon at the after this event, so it's a highly popular topic. But I haven't really seen many organizations doing it properly, because they approach it often as this: we're gonna outsource this, and some team is gonna do our threat modeling, and then we're done. Yeah. While it should be more. I heard this. It's like a quote because I heard it from someone else. Threat modeling is a conversation starter. Yeah. You just start it, and then you make sure your team grows with it, and you have to be consistent with it. Yeah. So to come back to your question, indeed, we are too much focused on vulnerability management, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm not saying we should abandon it, but we should look at the bigger picture. Yeah. You go back to OWASP SAMM, perhaps do an assessment, see where are we not doing a great job, and which are our greatest risks and where we should focus on, and start working on those activities as well.
So let's do this, So you've mentioned SAMM, that's SAMM, right?
It's SAMM.
SAMM, sorry.
Software Assurance Maturity Model.
There you go. I knew it and I said it wrong. But so there's that project and all the goodness that comes with that. Are there other things that you're familiar with OWASP that kind of help with this? Are there things around metrics? You want to, off the top of your head, can you name a couple?
I don't think we have anything on metrics. Well, okay. I'm not familiar about of. But that's a great. I love that you asked this question because why? Because the industry and the community, when you ask the question, do you know OWASP? Have you heard of OWASP? Mm-hmm. The answer is yes, OWASP Top 10.
Right.
OWASP Top 10. That's the only thing they know. They even refer to it as a standard. And one of the things I would love is the industry to stop calling it a standard. It's not a standard. It's just a list of the most common problems or risks. Not even risks. They are mostly code related. Right. And there are actual great standards in the OWASP, under the OWASP belt, which are the flagship projects, OWASP ASVS. Right. That is the number one. And by the way, we have the version 5 will be revealed in 1 hour. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that's been a massive amount of work. Yeah. I'm not involved with that project, but I'm sort of looking from the sidelines. And these guys done crazy hours. I've been seeing last night and the night before Git pushes all over the place, so I think these guys are going crazy right now.
I had a chance to chat with Josh yesterday, and we're always hanging out, and Jim Manico as well. Yeah. So those are the 3 core guys.
Yeah, and
huge contributors, of course.
Obviously, OWASP SAMM, I would say. Yeah. And right now, I'm unprepared for this question.
I know.
There are so
I put you on the spot.
many projects, and I'm sorry if I don't mention any project. If somebody's listening from other projects and that, what the hell, Aram? You should know this stuff. You should know about our project. Next time, I'll come better prepared
That's right.
for that question.
I did put you on the spot there, and the ones you mentioned, I think, are obviously flagship projects.
Yeah.
So it's easy for folks to go OWASP.org and
Yes,
look for
exactly.
things that
Exactly.
matter to them.
There is also something called the Wayfinder, which shows OWASP projects categorized by where they fit.
Right.
And it's a nice tool to see all the projects summarized, at least the flagship ones, in one central place.
And the cool thing is I'm going to chat with Star.
All right.
She's going to give me a nice overview.
She will
She'll
know
give
that
us a
stuff.
view of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Awesome.
So that'll be good. So, Ram, it's great chatting with you. I wanted to ask one final question. I'm asking
Yes.
everybody here this week, and I want you to direct your response to
Okay.
to the audience here. You kind of touched on it a bit, but maybe a purposeful, thoughtful response to what does OWASP mean to you?
OWASP.
Tell folks. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, OWASP is the actual bridge, I would say, between the best practices and how to bring best practices to the industry. Because actually, OWASP is a distillation of years and decades of experience of security experts, and they are bringing all of that into OWASP flagship projects. And this is why I also mentioned OWASP Top 10 is just one of them. And in terms of impact, definitely OWASP ASVS and OWASP SAMM, because there are decades and decades of experience in that. And in general, OWASP is a great community, and you should be definitely considering to become a member and become part of it and attend one of these conferences. And I'd be very much happy to meet and talk to any one of you.
I love it.
Thanks. Thanks,
And-
John.
And you are OWASP.
I'm OWASP.
You
yes.
are. This is why OWASP is cool. People like you, my friend.
Thanks.
People
Thanks.
like you. Well, thanks for the chat. Good
Happy
luck.
to do it.
Good with the presentation. Hopefully the session goes well.
Thanks.
And thanks everybody for listening, watching. More coming from OWASP AppSec Global here in Barcelona. Stay tuned.
Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk, and I know that HITRUST is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach-free.
That's solid, but what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST's regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the HITRUST framework. Go to hitrustalliance.net to learn more.